No.
There's this part of me that's just like, holy fuck. Like, if I was with somebody that did something awful, and I didn't know that they were going to do that, I'm just thinking about, like, you know, me getting fucked over in the end, even though I'm a good person. Would I be that first person at, you know, the police station with my mascara running down my face?
The only person that said nothing about it was Wiggington.
Wiggington.
So, she was sentenced to life, and after 20 years, she was released due to knee, hip, and back problems.
After 20?
20 years.
And this was
almost
89?
Severed somebody's head.
This was 89 this happened?
89, you're correct.
So, wait, so they let Tracey out, but the other ones...
They'd gotten out prior.
They were basically accomplices.
Essentially, well, Lisa
They
was.
were complicit.
Lisa was complicit.
She's still alive?
Yeah, all of them are alive. After 20 years, Wiggy was released. She was portrayed as less of a threat due to her failing health. But a lot of people have said that she had actually had a really great rehabilitation. She wrote a few letters to his kids.
Okay.
There is no record of any response to her.
Yeah.
No surprise.
I mean, who do we even address that letter to?
Most of the Australian population is remarkably unhappy that
She's out and about.
Is out and about, and she is mad that she can't find employment. The government is now paying for her disability, including a hip replacement, housing.
You know, it's one of those places that I go into, though, where I start to think about it, and, I mean, obviously an innocent person was murdered in a really awful, super brutal way, but then I start thinking about, she's really that super mentally ill. Had she had treatment and known...
Yeah, but no one could have known. The manner in which she continued to live her life, no one could have known.
Nobody could have known.
Especially in those time periods.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's easily accessible, but it's more accessible.
Except for anyone that's homeless or poor.
And we know now, I think, a lot more about psychology than we used to. You know, if this happened now, would she have gotten better treatment? Would she have maybe not killed somebody?
Apparently later came that she avoided sunlight, mirrors, and drank blood that she obtained from the butcher. Apparently she believed that she could make people disappear, except for their eyes.
Somebody nowadays, if this happened now, is gonna fucking turn your ass in and make sure that you get wellness checks.
She's tried to stay out of the public eye. It is part of the conditions of her parole, and everyone's parole.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Good for her, yeah. It's part of her parole is that she stays out of the public eye?
Yeah, so she actually was driven from...
I love those weird conditions.
So, best headlines ever. The killer was the devil's wife with power to control minds.
I don't remember all that happening.
Lesbian Vampire Killer lured man with promise of sex before killing him for his blood. Alright.
Okay.
Tell me your story!
Let's just have a little drinksy poo before we get into it. So why don't you just settle back, have a little sipsy poo with us right now.
Yeah, doesn't matter what you sipsy poo on.
I'm really kind of bursting with joy to talk about it. The Curse of Giles Corey.
Oh, yay! Salem! Yay!
That's right, everybody.
More weight.
I'm talking about my favorite place in the world that I'm going to live one day, and it's going to be great. So, Giles Corey.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people probably remember Giles Corey from, maybe high school or middle school talking about the Salem witch trials.
Weirdly enough, I didn't learn this until I went to Salem.
Really?
At all. My middle school was Catholic school, so we didn't do any of that.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't remember talking a whole lot about it in middle school, but I remember talking about it extensively in high school. What people mostly would maybe remember about Giles Corey, if they have any recollection of hearing or learning about the Salem witch trials, is the famous quote where he supposedly said, "More weight."
Right.
Because he was the one man that was crushed to death during the Salem witch trials. He was not hanged. Also, too, a common misconception about the Salem witch trials, nobody was burned. We never burned at the stake during the Salem witch trials. We hanged people, and it was a whole lot of women, and a
So therefore
couple
not
guys,
hung.
right? Yeah, not hung.
Not hung.
And a dog. A dog was executed for
Oh, I didn't
witchcraft.
know what
Did you
they
know
were.
that? A dog.
No. Was he familiar? Or was just he was just practicing.
Yeah,
witchcraft?
they probably thought he was a familiar. Giles Corey was crushed, and then there was a dog. I don't know how the dog was executed, and then it was like a whole bunch of women. And honestly, like, maybe this is where the hole in my story is. I don't know how many men were actually executed. But what I do know is that the jail situation was awful.
Right.
So, Giles Corey, right? So, he had lived in Salem town, which was different than Salem village. And he had moved to Salem village to become a farmer. Very shortly after he had moved to Salem village, his wife had passed away. What had happened after his wife, I think it was 5 years later, he had married a London immigrant, and her name was Mary. Until she passed away, he had married a widow from the area named Martha. I don't know this for a fact myself, but I remember the times that I was in Salem and going on the tours and talking to the tour guides. A lot of people had said that there was foul play suspected in the deaths of his wife. His wives in general.
Oh, both of them. Do you think it's Mary or Martha?
I think it was maybe his second wife.
So Martha.
I mean, you're with somebody 20 years, maybe you get sick of them. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, you'll find out. I won't find out.
To be continued. But
so stay tuned 20 years from now when Ty tells you whether or not he kills Kenny.
So he's remarried again. Okay, it's his third marriage. And
Mary, Martha.
Margaret. His second wife was Mary, and his third wife was Martha.
Okay. All right.
Does that clarify a little bit?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought Mary was the first.
I know that was hard to follow. Somewhere in that period of time between these three wives, he had actually beaten one of his field helpers to death with a stick.
Oh.
He beat this man to a bloody pulp. And it's generally believed that Giles Corey is not the face value character that most people believe that he was when they hear about him in history class. He had a reputation for being a super mean, nasty old man and very violent. And now that you know that he beat somebody to death with a fucking stick, it's like, okay, well that just reinforces it, right?
It's much more wretched than I wanted.
So he went to court for this, because you can't just go around killing people and getting away with it, right?
Right.
Not confirmed, but maybe a wife killer too. The witch trials are happening. Mass hysteria, people are real caught up in it. And Giles Corey is cooperating because you didn't have much of a choice but to cooperate.
Right.
And this is important. He fucking paid people off because he had a butt ton of money.
Right.
So he basically had paid for his freedom, which, let's also face it, what does that say about all the other people living in Salem Village at the time?
Well, there were several that were accused that were of high standing.
It says they're corrupt.
Okay.
For people that pride themselves on being, like, godly and wholesome and living by the book, we do a lot of really interesting things, right?
It's a tightrope I don't want to try to walk right now.
And we're talking about people doing the right thing, so, you know, he's bribing somebody for his freedom.
Right.
Which...
no one has ever done that, actually, since.
It kind of tarnishes his reputation, as it should. From that point forward, everybody kind of sees him as a murderer that got away with it.
Which is almost everything that I've seen from him was like, he's very dapper. He just, like, took it, man.
And that
I don't care.
That's the common misconception, is that Giles Corey, because of what we'll talk about pretty soon, but he gets glorified as this martyr, when in actuality, he wasn't a very friendly guy. Everybody is worried that there are witches among them, and everybody's accusing everybody else. They're doing these examinations of basically everybody that lives in Salem.
Right, so they're looking for witch's tit and or a birthmark where a familiar could suckle.
They're looking basically for everything under the sun.
Right.
It's not even just that. If you had a bad dream about somebody, that person is a fucking witch.
Oh yeah, totally.
If you walked past somebody and your ass itched, that was really going around.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, the sad thing about how this started, Tituba, being from Haiti, I believe it was that she was from. Honestly, I can't remember which family she worked for, but she had taken care of the kids, and a lot of the girls in the town were around Tituba, and she had brought a lot of these traditions and beliefs with her from Haiti, and one of the things that she did with the girls was divination. And it was cracking an egg into a bowl of water and looking into it to see the future.
Right.
And, you know, to Tituba, this was just kind of something she took with her from her culture. It wasn't good or bad. It was just cultural. And to the girls, it was like, ooh, really exciting. But to them, being Puritans, it was also evil. And they started to feel super bad about it after the fact. These girls didn't want to get in trouble with being part of what Tituba was doing. So what's the best thing that they can do? I'm a victim, and she's a witch. So mass hysteria and the Salem witch trials, they've swept through Salem. It's a huge deal. Everybody's caught up in it. And honestly, people are terrified and angry. Preliminary examinations of basically everybody who lives in the town, they're happening. People want to know who's safe, who's not. They're trying to just find anybody that they can accuse of being a witch. The interesting thing, though, is that people are very willingly volunteering to go off to these examinations. And I mean, I guess that makes sense.
You have nothing to hide.
Because you want to come across like you have nothing to hide. And
right.
Yeah, Giles Corey has been attending these preliminary examinations. But his wife, Martha, she's a real smart cookie, and she sees that everything that's happening is maybe bullshit and like a bad idea to begin with, and she knows what's what. She knows that all of this is just bad news bears. And she has been begging and pleading with him and encouraging him to not go to these examinations, right? He's not so into that. He just wants to do what he wants to do. I don't want to say that she's intuitive. She knows what's happening. And
right, she's smart.
She's perceptive. She's a smart lady, and she knows that this is all bullshit, because that's what the witch trials were. They were bullshit. They were a bunch of people that were scared and turning on each other and doing everything that they could do to kill each other, right? So she's, basically trying to get him to not go to these preliminary examinations, and he's not listening to her, and she goes so far as to actually start hiding his saddle so that he can't go. And I mean, obviously that doesn't work because he finds it and he goes. But the thing that really sucks about it is that it backfires on her, and it just ends up making her look bad. Like, why are you trying to stop him from going to these examinations? Because obviously the woman's wrong. And it really sucks for her, because guess what? She ends up getting accused of witchcraft. They take any little thing that they can and they use it against you. And in this case, it was trying to get him to not go to these examinations. So she gets accused of witchcraft, and now she's on trial. Mm-hmm. Giles Corey went on the stand and spoke out against his wife. He told the court that their pet cat and their ox had gotten sick because of her witchcraft, and he would frequently come downstairs in their home and find her kneeling in front of the fireplace like she was in prayer, but would see that she was not reciting a prayer. She was in a deep trance. And he's just like, yep, my wife's a witch. She's pretty awful. I'm going to say everything that I can against her to get her killed. And then they fucking execute her. So she gets hanged at Gallows Hill, where 18 other people were executed.
And at this time, it's not even a large colony.
I can understand where that misconception comes in. If you, and I mean, honestly, this is me being somebody that loves it so much. But also, too, like, I'm thinking back into, like, when I was in high school and we were talking about it in U.S. history, I wouldn't have really known the size of Salem Village. And I wouldn't have known that there was a difference between Salem Town and Salem Village. All of these people that are accusing each other, all of their families know each other. You're on top of each other. You're the only people that live there. Everybody's up in each other's business. And apparently everybody's accusing each other of being a witch.
Right, but you just have to have the money to, like, show people that you're not a witch.
Well, and here's the interesting thing is that Giles Corey did have a lot of money. In the end, it didn't save him, because Giles Corey was accused of witchcraft after his wife was executed. Oh, well, somebody got their comeuppance.
Yeah. Straight up instant karma.
Somebody's uppets came. Because maybe you killed some wives, maybe you didn't, but you know what you sure fucking did do? You went on the stand and maybe super fucking betrayed one of your wives.